Everyone, so excited that you're here. I am excited to be here. I am Nicole Flowers. This is If I Don't Tell You Who Will, and I get to be with one of my dear friends from 20 years. We have known each other in multiple capacities. So it's not just like we knew each other. Jeff Davenport is here. We knew each other when we both lived in Southern California. And then we reconnected when I put his name down as a reference for Duarte Communications, and he had no idea. But I was like, "Hey, if there is a referral bonus, I want him to have it." And then I got the job because of Jeff. The world's preeminent communications design firm is what I say.
That's you're right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Nancy Duarte. This is a big deal.
Uh-huh.
So that's who
Yeah.
trained Jeff, all the things. Jeff, tell us a little bit about you. You're a speaker coach. You are it.
I'm a speaker coach. I'm a communication coach, which means I'm helping executives who have to talk to 5,000 people in an arena, but also people who are trying to communicate better in their IT job, in their engineering job, in their sales job, or maybe they're trying to apply for a job and do an interview. I'm a communication nerd. I just like helping people communicate better.
I will say you are one of the best speakers I've ever encountered.
Oh,
He was a speaker when I first met him, and he's been a speaker since. Graduate of USC Film School, no small feat. I still remember that.
no.
Still remember that.
Think I was still paying
Okay.
for it about a year ago.
You're always still paying for that while you pay for your children's college.
Yes.
So Jeff is here. The last couple of lives, we talked to a hiring manager and we talked to a recruiter. And Jeff and I have been going back and forth about how new grads can be prepped for this thing called life and jobs. And I was like, Jeff, you need to come on the live to talk to everyone, not just new grads, not just early careers, about how to present ourselves in the interview. I have many clients who are like, okay, we nailed the resume. Now it's time for me to up level how I show up. And so Jeff is going to help us with that.
Before we do jump into it, I want to say something that I say all the time, and then the
Mhm.
more we hung out, I heard you say it, and it's a good banner statement over all of this, which
Yes.
is everything communicates something. And so if you can't go into any sort of interview thinking this doesn't really, everything matters. Everything is communicating whether or not you are confident. It is communicating whether or not you're interesting. It is
Mhm.
communicating whether or not you are articulate. It is
Yep.
communicating whether or not you're clear. Everything communicates something. So if something in you is going, I really might be overthinking this, odds are you are not.
Okay. So when we were doing our videos, we talked about a few things that happens when we get into an interview. For example, we're so excited and we start the ramble. We start
Mhm.
answering a question and we do not know from whence we came or to where we are going. What happens when I go to fight or flight and be like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of this and I don't remember the question? I'm rambling. What would you
Mhm.
say? What do we do?
There's a few things there. Number one, and I'm going to go a little broader first. That
Mhm.
interviewer, bless that interviewer, they are trying to gather as much data about you as they can through these questions, through your body language, through everything. So, again, everything communicates something. What are you communicating to them? One of the top things you need to communicate to them is this: you have self control. Now, I know that seems really strange and arbitrary, but
Mhm.
what they're trying to get a beat on is this person in control of themselves. That has to do with your hand movements, that has to do with your vocal tics, that has to do with your rambling. Few ways to communicate you're cool, you're in control of things. First off, when they're asking you that question, resist the urge to go, yeah, I know what question this is. Okay, I'm ready. And jumping in on them. Be cool. Let them totally finish, then answer. It shows that you're not, well, let them finish, then answer. Then, as you start to answer the question, keep in your head two things. One, what is the primary point I am trying to communicate now? And two, what is the last thing I am going to say to end my answer to that question? Typical question. Tell about a time where you really faced something challenging and you overcame that. Give yourself a moment. I remember 3 years ago, I was doing this and we were doing this. And then you realize I'm starting to go down a rabbit trail. steer yourself back, steer yourself back, stay to the main point. And as you're talking, be thinking, and by the way, let me say this, it's hard to do this. You're trying to have good delivery, stay on track, and think about the last thing you're going to say. Drive towards that last thing and by the way, practicing questions like this, answering questions like this, but that will help. You know they're going to ask the what was a challenging thing question. Have that story ready.
Yep.
Drive towards the last thing you're going to say, which for this is, and that's how I learned the lesson of this. And this is the trick. Stop talking. Because we, as Americans especially, we are
Yes.
used to talking until we're interrupted. I want to say that again because this is a big insight I had a number of years ago. We in America are used to talking until we're interrupted. So there's going to be something in you that you're completely unaware of that says, I just need to I'm going to keep talking I'm going to wait till that person
Yep.
finishes. Don't do that. It shows that lack of self-control.
So true. One of the things that you said, and I used this with a client the other day, was know what airport you're going to land at. Because we always say, oh, you didn't land the plane. Know what airport you're going to so you can make sure that you're landing the plane in the right place. Love that
Exactly.
analogy.
And it really does prep. You know, how many
Yeah.
questions are there possibly going to
Yeah.
ask you? 20, maybe? Nobody's doing these creative interviews. Sit down with a buddy, have them ask you those questions, and you practice those answers. And as you practice two things, one, you're going to know what to say, and two, you're going to know what not to say. Because when we start talking, we go down a rabbit trail. It's going to help guide you. And then really the third thing is you're going to know how to finish your answer.
And one of the things that I always tell my clients is have 3 to 5 scenarios that you can use for different questions. So maybe one is about a time that you had a hard time getting a stakeholder on board, and it was a time that you might have missed a deadline. There are 2 different questions that would be asked differently, but if as you practice, you're exactly right. You're gonna know how deep into the weeds do I wanna get? Ooh, that is rambly. It's too much. Let's give them just the right amount of information to keep everyone on target, including yourself.
And that gets to storytelling. I
Ugh,
doubt any interviewer is sitting there going, I'm going to grade them on storytelling. But if our goal is clarity and efficiency, they want to hire someone who is clear. It doesn't matter if you're sinking ingots on a girder. They want a clear communicator and they want someone who is efficient in their communication.
yes.
Strong storytelling does this. So when they say, what's a challenging event from your career? If you go, oh, it was this time we had a tough deadline and we barely made it, but boy, we made it at the end. Whew, not a story, not a story.
No.
So prepare these stories beforehand. And the story is we were trying to accomplish this was standing in the way. This wasn't working. We did this, it unlocked it, and we got here. And the crux of the story is what you learned. Every great story that you're communicating, I would say at any business communication, but particularly in, oh, just knock on the camera here, particularly in a job interview, is you're telling a story. And the end of that story is the following. I want everybody just lock this phrase in. Everybody ready? The end of your story ends up saying something like this. And what I learned from that is, dot. What I learned from that is I've got to aim for a sooner deadline. What I learned from that is because what they are assessing is do you have, and again, they're probably not thinking in these terms, but they're trying to see if you have a growth mindset. You can read Carol Dweck's book to understand more about this, but basically, are you the kind of person who doesn't just sail through life doing everything perfect? They know that's not true.
Yes.
They want to understand that when you've reached a challenge, you didn't just endure the challenge, you got something valuable out of it for you. And basically, you go, I will not handle that situation the same way again because I've learned this thing here.
Oh,
Tell a
right.
story, set it up, get them in there. And then at the end, say, and what I learned from that is this. Go,
And
Nicole.
a huge part of what is your greatest weakness? And everyone's, I don't know what to say. And then they start literally talking about how they're either it's I'm a perfectionist or I don't hit my deadline. And I always am saying, what is the question underneath the question? Are you self aware enough to know? And can you grow from your mistakes? Can you fail forward? So plus one to that. Plus one to
That is
that. One of the things that we also talked about, we're in the interview, we've made it. This is a place to dump all of our, just let it out. Just tell everybody, dump all of the experience. Yes? I want
no.
them to know everything.
No, it is cherry picking. Often we think this is my only opportunity. And so, as my father used to say, we shove 2 tons in a 1 ton sack. That's not going to help anyone. That's why you're trying to get I'll use this phrase, a choice collection of curated information about your experience, not all of it. If you think a wall of sound about your experience is going to help, you're foolish. But if you think, I know that this piece right here, this is a way to think of it. You're trying to fill in a silhouette of you for them. And really great communicators, you know what they're doing? They're sitting there while they're talking. They're thinking of the other person and thinking, what's getting filled in for them right now? For me,
Mm.
about me, what's getting, this story is going to help them see me as responsible. This over here is going to help them see me as a team player. This is going to help them see me as talented in coding or whatever. You have to know before the interview. Sit down with a piece of paper, write out what are the 5 things that I need to have persuaded them of, convinced them of about who I am by the end of this interview. And by hook or by crook, you're finding those stories and those moments to hit
Mhm.
those 5 things. So that silhouette is filled in perfect. I'll just tell you, I'm not interviewing for jobs, but just before this, I run my own business. I was doing a biz dev call with a guy, and he was kicking the tires on me and 3 other facilitators for an event. The whole time I'm thinking, what does he need to know about me by the end of this that makes him feel confident I'm the right person to do this? And as we were going, I had 5 things in my head. I wanted him to know I was a team player. I wanted him to know I was going to be creative, that I could run the room, that I wasn't going to overtalk, and that I could draw out quiet people. By the end of that meeting, I felt like I did it. I did that, and that was all I could do. Anything beyond that's him. I filled in that silhouette, drive towards the silhouette. Yes, Junette writes in, know your audience. So that's tricky because how great would a job interview be if you go, hey, before that interview, can I interview you to find, you can't do that. So you're trying to guess based off of the job description, based off the things you know. What do they need to know about me? I am driving towards that. So often, this is the last thing I'll say on this. So often we finish an interview and someone will go, how'd it go? I don't know. I think, okay. We don't know. Why don't we know? Because we don't know the bullseye.
Yes.
You
Oh my
can
gosh. Great
generally
point.
know the bullseye before you go in by deciding it yourself and go, I think this person wants these 5 things. And if I have communicated those 5 things to the best of my abilities by the end of that, I can walk out feeling confident. I can go, I think I did what I was supposed to. No, not 100%, but you feel relatively assured.
What I also, to build on that, will say, we say the same thing about resume writing. You're not writing the resume for yourself. You're not interviewing for yourself. You're interviewing for the interviewer. You're writing your resume for the reader. How does this affect them that they'll understand your impact? Like June says, know your audience. It's so important to be very choice. And it's also very important as you're doing a recruiter screen, or it's the hiring manager, or it's the interview loop. And you're talking to peers, you're talking to cross functional partners. How are you presenting yourself in each of those conversations to make sure you're hitting what the interviewer needs to hear to, in your point, see you as the best person to hire,
Yes.
to engage with?
They are looking for confidence. They're not looking for arrogance. They're looking for confidence.
Okay, we're jumping off this, and this is what I want us to focus on the rest of the time. You mentioned 3 things of how to show up in interviews. What is the most important thing to remember from a recruiter screen on to the skip level of the hiring manager? What are the 3 things that you say, "This is it. These are the
I'd say
most
these
important"?
3 C's: clear, confident, and compelling. And there is overlap in all of those. No one's going to come across confident if they're not clear. No one's going to come across compelling if they're not confident. So there is much overlap in all of those things. So a few little tidbits. One way to sound confident is not to talk too fast.
Mm,
Confident people take their time, they slow down, they answer the question deliberately. Because what happens when they start to talk fast because we get nervous, we're trying to dump everything out, we're going as fast as we can. There's a couple of things. One, we sound nervous because we are nervous. Number two, we talk faster than our brain can find the next word to say. And so we end up saying things like, I remember when I graduated from Pepperdine, okay, that is your brain's way of going, hang on, I'm gonna come
Yeah.
up with this thing. People who talk slow. No, I'm not thinking about weird. I just mean when you're talking at a normal rate, you won't use those verbal fillers because you're giving your mouth enough time to communicate to your brain to come up with the next thing that you need to say. If you want to address verbal fillers, slow down at a good rate of speed so your brain can find those things. And if you feel yourself wanting to say, place it with a pause. So that's one of the best ways to communicate clarity and confidence. Another way to be compelling. And by the way, I'm about to talk about a little artsy charisma here. Let's say Nicole's about to interview me, cameras come on, everything in me wants to go, okay, she's running the show. She is. But for me, I like to do it. And by the way, it's just tricky, but give it a shot. For me, if Nicole goes, hey, Jeff, how are you today? I'll go, great. Real quick, tell me about that. Tell me about that plant back there. What is that? So right away, what I'm doing is going, we're two humans. I have no
Yep.
problem calling something out. What I like to do a lot is go, hey, real quick before we get started, where are you based? Are you, oh, I'm here. And it just, because what it communicates, non-confident people go, I guess I'll let them drive everything. Don't be that person. Do not be that person. Have a little personality, have a little charisma. They're not just hiring you for your skills. They're hiring you because I like this person. Nobody likes someone who looks like they're in a police lineup.
I like this tool of just equalizing when you get into the conversation, right? We're two humans. We both live in a place. Where's your place? This is my place. Are you a plant mama? I've kept this thing alive for nearly 2 years.
See? And you would love to say that. And that person, it
Now
does
I've
two
said it
things.
publicly, not just to people that come over here to my house.
You're a little proud of it.
I'm a
It
little
does
nervous.
two things. One, it makes you feel better about me. And two, here's a real secret, better about me. Because it
Mm.
makes me, hey, I'm a human. Okay, I got this. The first few seconds of an interview is like a 747 trying to take off. If you get loft right away and you feel confident in yourself, you're gonna do fine. But if that beginning is janky, you will feel bad and you're gonna be
Mhm.
trying to get that plane off the ground. Have a line ready right when things start. And that's gonna give you some confidence out of the gate.
One more thing, I know that we're basically at time, but one more thing is what happens when we just don't love talking about ourselves? Because
You go,
that
too bad. You go, oh, I guess I could talk about my friend. And then at the end, they'll go, yeah, so what's your friend's salary range? Because we'd like to hire them. You
yeah,
have to
right,
get
right.
over it. You have, okay, and let me say it this way. We think by going, I don't like to talk about myself. I'm not very self focused. You're actually very self focused because,
Mm,
and this is a great way to think of an interviewer, your goal is to make their job as easy as possible. What's going to make their job easy? You being reticent and not telling things about, no, you're going to make it easy because they're going to go, we're not hiring that bozo. You're going to make it hard for them. Make it as easy as possible. And that means I got to go, yep, I did this. Now, it doesn't mean you're snapping your suspenders. And I remember when I saved the company, you don't have to go overboard, but a little bragging, that's what they want. It would
yeah.
be really weird if you said, I ran us into debt and they fired me because I was 3 sheets to the wind on a Wednesday. Make it easy for them by saying those stories and those facts, true facts about yourself as clearly, as confidently, and in a compelling manner as possible. You're going to make it easy for them. And Nicole, you and I both know this. When a recruiter hangs up with someone like that, they sigh and go, that was fun. That's
Yeah.
why I like doing these. Make them feel like they go, I like doing these. I like interviewing people. That's a
And
win.
there's 2 things. The first is they already think that you would be somewhat good at this job. They wouldn't have called you in. They've already
Yeah.
picked. You don't need to convince or I don't know about that. Okay? We need to be presenting ourselves in a way that's it would be a travesty if you didn't know what a great fit I was for this role. It would be not kind of me. So we should be putting ourselves up for these things to be like, I would be so good because I hear that from clients. I saw this role and I'd be so good for it, but then they didn't ask me in, or after the recruiter screen, it didn't go anywhere. The confidence is so important because, to your point, getting off a phone call and being like, oh my gosh. And then that recruiter or a hiring manager being like, I know what it's like when I was hiring someone. You could just know. You just know when you got a good one. When it's that
Mm.
compelling, it's confidence and all of those things you can prepare for. And I always like to say too, you talk about the plant mama thing. People like working with people they like. So
Yep.
when you chit chat with it, it's, oh, okay, like this person would come into our culture well. This person would fit.
Yeah,
Jeff.
connected. It's connected. But and by the way, please, it's not you don't have to be perfect. No recruiter's going, they were perfect, so we're hiring them. They want to sense who you are. They want that
Mhm.
confidence, that clarity, that compelling nature. Don't think you got to be perfect. Just own those moments.
I love it. Two things. We've got something for new grads. We've got the grad glow up going, which is an intro resume with me, some time with me, but also, and we didn't really talk about it a lot, you have an entire course that they get executive presence for new
Mhm.
grads. And I would also say early career folks, because sometimes I
Yeah.
think, oh, but it's in those first few years. I took it and I was like, this is so good. So helpful for how to show up
Mm.
in the room. But you also tell me a little bit about your newest. I didn't even know that this, so this became a plug, please. You also have a course for clear, compelling.
Yep. Clear, confident, compelling. It covers I'm putting together content for a presentation. What are the questions I need to ask myself? A little bit about slide design and
Yep.
then delivery. What do I do with my voice, hands, body, eyes, face while I'm communicating? It's over 100 minutes of video content broken up into bite-sized pieces. That's the class.
So helpful for whether you're interviewing with an assignment, whether you're actually just presenting in life. Oh, you have a job. There are people
Mm.
here with jobs. So that's great. Jeff, you are a delight.
You are a delight too, Nicole. You and that.
We appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Nicole.
I appreciate
Appreciate
you. We'll
you.
talk soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.